Welcome back to another episode of the podcast, From the Depths of Darkness to the Light of Success. I am your host, Chris Swick, and on this podcast, we talk about mental health, addictions, trauma, ADHD, eating disorders, really anything anyone's afraid to talk about. Let's make them afraid to not talk about it today. And I believe everyone's story is powerful. It doesn't matter what walk of life you come from. We all have a story, and we should all share our stories. If you could head over to the YouTube channel, From the Depths of Darkness to the Light of Success, hit that subscribe button, turn on the notifications, head over to Spotify, Apple, wherever you listen to your show, hit that 5-star review. It helps the show grow organically. But I have an amazing guest on today. With no further ado, I'd love to introduce you to my next guest. I got Natalie Watson from Ontario, Canada, just down the highway from me. But would you like to take it away and let them know a little bit about you, Natalie?
Yeah, sure. That was a great intro. I don't know if I can top that one. But thank you for definitely having me on your show. My name is Natalie Watson, as you introduced myself. I'm a mother, 3 beautiful girls, and a beloved son. I'm an author at night, an enforcement officer by day, and I wear many hats, so it's hard to sum everything up in a mini intro. But just to give you an idea, that's pretty much what I do, and I'm excited to be here to have great conversations and for everyone to learn more about what I do, where I'm from, and my thought process. And yeah, let's get to know each other.
We talked when we talked before we even came on recorded over the last little while and stuff. You did let me know that you had lost a child. What was it like losing a child for you? And what were some things that you went through during this traumatic time in your life?
Yeah, definitely. So my son passed away in May of 2018. And it was one of the worst experience of my whole entire life. I think it's the worst thing that any parent can, ever experience. It was an outer body experience, for lack of better words and description, how to really explain what that feels like. It just felt like my soul was ripped from the inside out. My skin was taken off, and I was just an empty body, skeleton, just walking around. It's definitely changed my life in terms of my thought process, how I go about my day to day living, my goals, my aspirations, how I view people, how I view the world. I have a totally different set of lens on after that experience going forward with life. I'm more positive. I've always been positive, but it's like a part of me inside sparked at the same time. I felt like I was asleep for 39 years of my life, and as soon as everything happened, it's just boom, wake up. Now this is life. So I take things very light. I try not to overthink too much. And there's times when you go back into that zone where you're like, okay, maybe I'm overthinking too much because I'm naturally an observant person and very analytical. But I try not to let things bother me too much. And for anyone who's not adding value to my life, I find that I have zero tolerance now where it's okay, you know what? You're not really feeding my spirit. You're not really feeding my soul. And you're pulling me down in a dark place. I know what that dark place feels like, and I don't want to be there. So I go out in the world just thinking that it's me against the world. And I'm here to kick ass until my last day.
I love that you say that though too. I don't have time for the negative people in life anymore. It's the same like for myself on social media too. If it's not serving me purpose, why am I following them? Like I'm not into going to the watching fights or getting into fights anymore like in my younger days and stuff like that. So why am I following these pages? I heard someone say this. So I went through my page and started unfollowing lots of just nonsense and those types of things that doesn't feed or add value to my life. Same with people in real life. If you're not adding value to my life or
Yep.
being of service,
Mhm.
or giving back like what I can give to you and
Mhm.
reciprocating it, then I don't think we're meant to be in one another's lives anymore. And that's just that. People fall to the wayside and you go your different ways, and such is life.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. That's how I pretty much look at it. It's not complicated at all. It's exactly what you make it. So you can decide to make it where you're surrounding yourself with people and things that are not serving you any purpose, or you can say, you know what? I need more. Like I'm hungry for more. And after my experience, I was just not putting up with it anymore. I'm just like, I'm done. I'd like, look what happened here. I'm awake now. I can see everything in front of me, like whether it's fake friends, a career that wasn't serving me any purpose, like switching things around, the way I am at home, the way I am with my kids. And I'm not saying I wake up every day, hey, I'm Natalie and I'm so happy. No, my mentality is different. If I feel like I don't feel like myself today, I don't feel as motivated, as strong, I take that time and I step back a little bit and I observe everything that's happening around me. And I allow myself the time to take in everything, to reflect, to heal, and just to pull back in terms of giving yourself that space. It's almost like giving yourself a break from everything that's happening around you. And it's really simple, like I said, it's all in the mind.
It is. It's all the way you set your mind and having that, positive mindset, that growth mindset. If you stick in that fixed mindset, you're not gonna go anywhere in life. It's just gonna be it's like the definition of insanity, trying to do the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result. It's never gonna happen, you know?
Yes,
If it doesn't happen that way, it didn't happen the right way that time, alright, we gotta switch up what we did this time to get a different result. Because if we do it the same way, we're just gonna get the same result over and over again.
exactly. Yep.
So what tell me a little bit, you're an author too, so you had recently released a book well over the within the last year or whatever. What's that book called and what's it about?
Yeah, so I have it right here with me. It's actually called 15 Years. The first one, it's called 15 Years, 14 Chapters. And the second one that I released, it's Ish, I'm Still Healing. So
Nice.
this is the second book. And what it is, it's simply a working journal. And the title, everyone's always asking me, like, Ish. The reason why I came up with this name as well, because initially I was experiencing as losing my son. And the first book I wrote about his life, his story, his memoir, just to give you like an insight of him growing, me being a mom, learning so many different things about a boy and so forth. So I find that after writing that book, I wanted more. I thought this was gonna be my first and only book and just get it out of my system and that's it. And I'm laying in bed and I'm like, this is some real shit that I'm going through. And I thought to myself, okay, there's so much more inside of me that's locked in there and I just want to keep writing. So I found myself just writing out like how my days are going, what experience am I having, let's say on a Monday, I'm feeling like really sad. On a Tuesday, I'm feeling really happy and so forth. And I went out looking for a journal just to document exactly my day-to-day experience after losing a child. And I couldn't find anything. Indigo chapters, Amazon, you name it. I went out looking, searching, and I couldn't find anything. So I came up with a way to serve myself, one, and help me with my writing in terms of journaling my day to day experience, trauma after losing a child. And it's very simple. I designed it for a year. It's hardcover. And the way I really designed it on the inside, you're documenting how you're feeling. What grief have you experienced? How do you feel? Like it's all questions and you're answering those questions. So every day, from what I notice, if I go back, let's say a month from now, every day it's different for me. And every day I'm experiencing some sort of grief in the sense that not only losing my son, it could be a piece of jewelry that was so important to me. Like I'm grieving the loss of losing that important item I had. Could be, for example, losing a pet. If you I have a two furry pets in my house. I have a cat and a dog. So for me to think that if I should lose them also, for me, I'm gonna grieve that hurt. I'm gonna grieve that pain because they're part of my family. So I'm documenting everything in here how I'm feeling on a day-to-day basis. And it's designed for 365 days out of the year. It's simple. It's a list of questions, and there's an affirmation at the bottom. And part of that affirmation is, I'll just read it. I am still healing, and the journey of healing starts with me. So it's on every page. The questions are the same thing every day, because every day it's going to be different. And that affirmation is just to remind you that your journey of healing, it definitely starts with you. You can look, whether you're getting therapy, whether you're speaking with a friend, at the end of the day, when you get back in your home, what steps are you going to take? Are you just going to wait until you connect with your friends again so they can fill you up and then you leave? You might get that high for that second or that moment, and then it goes away after maybe 24 hours or 48 hours or a week. You have to continue that journey. So, how are you going to continue that journey? You have to search within yourself and start within yourself. So, this is why I designed this book, and it's definitely helped me. A few other people, they've wrote me and they said, "Hey, I've started my journaling, and it's definitely helping me as well. And just thank you for creating something so simple."
I love that idea. What and where can they find that book? Is it available online in any bookstores? Because I really love that idea. Yes, it's the same questions every day, but you don't feel the same every day. Like you said, Monday, I like your example though. Monday, you may feel like shit. You may feel down, depressed.
Mhm.
And Tuesday, you're having a terrific Tuesday or whatnot. And then Wednesday comes along. Maybe you're having a good Wednesday, but then Thursday, back to the Monday. And the seasons change my moods a lot too as
Yeah.
well, and it someone
Yeah.
that sobriety and recovery like myself and clean and sober now, you
Mhm.
really gotta feel those feelings because I numbed those feelings and that pain for so long that I didn't know
Mhm.
how to feel any feelings or any pain, and I'm going on 40 now, and you gotta feel and feeling those feelings suck. You gotta go
Yeah.
through those motions and everything.
Yeah, you definitely have to. It's definitely going to start with you. And you can actually get the book. I have copies of the book locally. I usually tend to keep a box of maybe 20 at least on site. At home with me, you can get it on Amazon. It's not on Indigo and Chapters just yet. The first book is, but you can get it on Powell's bookstore. If you just search Natalie Watson, I'm Still Healing, it'll tell you exactly where you can get it. So whether you're in the UK or you're in the US, it's definitely at Barnes and Nobles. If you're on the US side, you can get it at Barnes and Noble. You can order online and it'll ship right to you, or you can pick it up in the store after you've placed your order.
I really like this idea though. I'm really highly considering getting myself one and getting a couple other people one, just buying them as gifts because I think that's a great idea. And it's
Mhm.
nice that you don't have to get out and go buy another notebook or another, 3-ring notebook or whatever. If you can
Uh,
write it all in there and it sounds so
yeah,
simple. It's amazing. It's just pick up the book, answer the questions, and it's
yeah,
gonna be different every day. I love it. And it gets you out of your comfort zone too. Cause
yeah.
I do writing like every week, me and my fiance, we started this at the beginning of last year. So what it was, we write every Sunday, we write something that we're grateful for the week and put it in this little thing. And then at the end of the year, we read it. We haven't read last year's yet. We haven't got around to it,
Right,
but we started it again.
right.
It's something nice and you can go back and, see the growth and whatever it is. You just write
Exactly.
something you're grateful for every week.
Yeah. And the cool thing about that as well is, like you said, you can always go back the way it's also designed. It's not dated on the inside. So let's just say, I don't know, for
You miss a
30
day or two.
days consecutively, you want to write. And then another 2 months, you're like, you know what? I'm not really feeling this. I don't want to write anything right now. I'm not in the mood. That's fine. Go ahead. You don't need to write anything. You can pick up exactly where you've left off. That's a cool thing about it. And it's hardcover, so you can either burn it, all your thoughts, or you can keep it and continue on, maybe get another one and just continue. So it's continuous. And healing, it's a lifetime journey. That's how I view it. It's not, hey, I'm going to
Snap
heal
out
it
of it today.
today. Yeah, there's no such thing as snap out of it. And I get that a lot. It's, hey, when are you going to snap out of it? You can't just snap out of it. It's continuous. So it's a lifetime journey. So you have to invest in yourself.
I love that you say that. The one most recent episode I just released too, we talk about investing in yourself. It doesn't matter what it is in life. And just investing in yourself to make yourself a better human is what it is. And I love that you say that though too. You have to always be investing in yourself to for growth.
Yes. Yes. Oh, yeah.
So if extra lives were a thing in the real world, how would we get them, Natalie?
Oh, extra lives?
If we're playing like Super Mario or but how would we get them in the real world we live in? What would be the reward system is what I'm trying to ask.
That's a very good question. If extra lives were a thing, I would think it would be to reinvent yourself. So let's say, for example, before my experience of losing my son, I was a totally different person. So after hearing the news, I just remember like being at the police station and they told me the news. And it was almost like I seen myself on planet Earth and I was just a little speck. And there was a magnifying glass that was like right over me, and I can see myself just curled against the window. And it was almost as though in the back of my mind, I can see myself, and you knew that instant life will never be the same. So, your thought process, I think that will help if that was a thing. The moment you get that, whether it's the moment you get like the worst news, your first thought process right then and there, it's either you're thinking, oh shit, life is gonna be different. How is it gonna be? It's either gonna be good or it's gonna be bad. So you have the choice then and there. So if we know that, hey, when something traumatic does happen to me, when you're going through those motions, think about it for a second. And you're not really thinking about it, okay, so here's what I'm gonna do. Da, da, da. That first instant thought. So it's not gonna be effective on everyone. It's gonna be who it's gonna be effective on that person who you were before you heard that crazy, the worst news ever. So if you were, let's say, I don't know, always aspiring to be someone and it's not happening, it took something crazy for it to happen, at least you're given that second chance, but it's your mindset at that time. I know I just went deep a little bit, but
I love it. I love
that
the
one.
answer though. We went deep on that one, but I love
Yeah,
it.
I did.
To circle back to the beginning of that answer that you just gave me too. So what
Yeah.
was it, if you don't mind me asking that, how did your son pass? What had happened to him?
Yeah. So my son, he was swimming with friends in the Welland Canal.
Oh,
And it's not like the waterway that they were swimming in, it's not an area that's designed for you to go swimming in.
no,
Like
because it's
that's
really deep. I know the Welland Canal very well from doing some hikes
yeah,
down there and stuff, and it's very
yeah,
deep, but the currents can be crazy with all the ships and stuff going
exactly.
through.
Exactly. So that's how it was on May 30th, May 29th. He went out with friends. It was probably one of the hottest days, like the beginning of the season. So the water was still cold, even though it was 29, 30 degrees that day. The water was still freezing cold. And he went swimming with his friends after school, and he didn't make it home that day. He didn't make it home, and I remember just calling the police. It was late at night. I'm like, "Hey, Noah's not home. Like, what's going on?" He's usually at his friend's house. He'll hang out and say, "Hey, mom, I'm here." And even though I'm like, "Hey, you got to come home," he's okay. Give me like 2 more hours, whatever have you. So I remember not seeing him for dinner, like messaging him. He didn't come home. And then that night I called the police. I'm like, hey, my son didn't come home. Can you go and check these areas where he's usually at his friend's house? And they went out, they looked, they're like, no, he's not there. And they're like, okay, you know what? Just try and sleep it off. Maybe he'll come home the next day. And to make a long story short, I just remember the following day when I couldn't sleep that night. I kept messaging him. And I remember the following day, I knew something was wrong because he didn't answer my text. he would usually send me a message, even though he's gonna stay out or he's gonna sleep, he'll send me a message saying that, "Hey, I'm gonna stay at my friend's house. I don't wanna come home tonight," whatever have you. But there was nothing. And I knew something inside of me, it just wasn't settling. And then the following day when I got up, I went into work, still kept messaging him, and then I got a phone call during the day from my husband, and he's, "Yeah, maybe you should come home because he's not here. The police are out looking for him. They said they're gonna put out a media broadcast for missing kids. So maybe you should come home." I remember just leaving work and I came home. And when I came home, I noticed there was like a search and dive team out like around the canal because his friends had said earlier that day, yeah, he was swimming with us at the canal. Like we last seen him there. Like he should have been home. No, he's not at our house. So they decided, you know what? Let's rule the possibility out of him actually drowning. And when they did that, I just remember seeing like caution tape. And then I was at the canal and they're like, why don't you just go home? It's probably nothing. And I'm like, okay, I want to stay here just in case. And this was roughly about 5:30 that day. And I remember I was at the canal there with my husband, and then one of the officers that were there, they got a phone call and they're like, "Hey, you wanna go over to the station because the detective, they wanna speak with you." So I was in and they were questioning myself and my husband, and an hour or so later, after being questioned about him and just getting to know him a little bit when it comes to my son, I was just giving them a lot of information to help. An hour or so after being there, the detective got up and he came back, and just the look on his face, I'm like, "Oh, shit, no." And before he can say anything, he's Natalie, and it was just a blur after. I can read his lips. I knew exactly what he was saying. I went deaf, like, literally went deaf because everything shut down within my body and it was just silence. It was just, and I can hear exactly what he's saying. It was muffled. And that's when my soul just left my body.
And that
Yeah,
must have been like an experience that no mother should have to go through, no parent, should have to go through. It's unfortunate. It was an accident, but that's sometimes those accidents happen, but it's the very unfortunate things too. And I'm sorry you had to go through those things, Natalie.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
So did you live the past year in accordance with any kind of mantra or keywords that you used to get you through this last year up to 2022 here?
I think for 2021 into 2022, my attitude was just keep going. And that's how I was able to write my second book. My attitude was, I can't stop now. I can't quit now. So it's almost like a voice in the back of my head. And I associated with it being my son, where he's just keep going because it's not a female voice. It's not me telling myself, just keep going. You got this. I believe in you. Just keep going. Just keep going. It's a male voice that's in my head that's telling me, just keep going. Just keep going. You got this. That's the only thing that's really I firmly believe in and I think about on a day-to-day basis. It's just that voice, whether it's me telling myself or my son telling me, just keep going. You got this.
I love that you use that too. Just keep going. That should be for anyone struggling, whether it's addictions, depression, mental illness, mental health, the loss of a loved one. Keep telling that to yourself. Just keep going because the next day is going to be better. There's always a brighter day ahead. I don't like using that all the time, but there is a brighter day ahead most days.
Yeah.
Like some days are going to be rougher than others. Sometimes just laying that head down at night and just getting a good night's sleep just refreshes you and rejuvenates you for the next day too.
Yes. Yeah. It's super important. I always tell myself, and from ever since I've known myself as a teenager, young adult, where I'm like, okay, I kind of know, who I am, what I like, what I don't like. I always try to find that silver lining in the worst case scenario. And I know, like, for me, it's a little bit of like my background as well. Being grown in the Caribbean, I came here at the age of 12, and I was raised by my grandmother. And growing there, life it's totally different. You really see how they grind, how they're putting their best foot forward, and simple things like washing your clothes on your hands. We didn't have a washer and dryer. So when I see my grandmother in that setting and she's just like, all right, I'm just gonna keep going. I gotta take care of my grandkids. I gotta work. I gotta cook. Her attitude, she never complained about anything. Her attitude was just like, I'm gonna keep going. I'm gonna keep going. I'm gonna keep going until the wheels fall off. So it goes back to that as well. It's how you're brought up. Your mindset plays an important role as well. And the people that you have around you, even if you didn't have it growing as a kid, the people that you have around you plays a huge
It's so true though. The way things as a child, you're especially coming from where you came from in the Caribbean and stuff like that, they do work their asses off. I grew up, my parents had neighbors across the street that were from Jamaica and in England background and stuff like that. And he's still going strong at 80 in the mid 80s. I would never forget him, but he's still going strong to this day, taking care of his wife who can't walk too much anymore, taking
Yeah.
care, shoveling his driveway still, cutting his lawn, taking
Yep.
care of everything. Make sure he gets to the store for his lotto tickets every day too. But no, he's but it's just amazing to see the work ethic in some of these people, especially from the older generations. And I wish some of the younger generations coming up now, like they should instill that in themselves too, because they think it's just all about sitting on their phone on social media and playing video games all the time. Sometimes I got to give my son a swift kick in the ass some days.
Yeah. You know what I do? I don't do it. My husband does it. He will automatically shut the internet down.
Oh,
So
nice.
he controls it from his phone and he's like super techie and stuff. I'm like, I don't have time for that. Like, you're wasting your time. And then, so we'll be in the living room and hey, I haven't seen the girls. They haven't come out from their room within the last 2 hours. And then I'll look at him and he's, oh, watch. He's give it 10 minutes. Within
So they
5
tired.
minutes, they're like, "Hey guys, how's it going?" They'll sit on the couch, they'll bum around in the kitchen, and we're looking at each other like, He's like, "I told you so."
I
I'm like,
know
"Are
it's
they
it.
playing?"
It's crazy. Or I pull the plug. I don't care. Like, or
Oh,
what we've gone to my fiance with my daughter. You can get off your TV and read your books. We bought books, novels. She's at the age where she's getting better at reading, so we bought her a bunch of novels. It accidentally ended up in my hand. The remote did. How it accidentally ended up from, and that TV just a mere imagine just amazingly
wow.
turned on by itself when you walk out of the room.
Yeah, that's awesome. But yeah, the kids, like the younger generation, they have it as well. And I think it's super important for us as adults to just continue. You might not think that they're listening or it's, oh yeah, you're so annoying. You're this and you're that. But they're actually listening. They're listening. They're absorbing everything. Cause I remember myself as a kid as well. My grandmother, she would say certain things and I'm like, uh-huh, uh-huh, uh-huh. She's like, are you listening to me, young girl? Are you listening? I'm like, yes, I am. Really and truly, I was paying attention, but I didn't show or display that, hey, I took notes. So it's now that I'm older, I'm like, oh, that's why she was doing this, or I get it
Now they're
now.
getting you're getting it back tenfold from your kids now. It's my
I
mother
am.
always says to me, "This
Yeah,
is what I had to put up with when you were a child,
yeah,
Chris.
yeah.
Now
I
you
am
get to
now.
deal with it."
Literally, I am right now. I'm like, oh, that was me. Yeah.
So which new things did you discover about yourself over the course of the last year? It sounds like you wrote another book and stuff, but what other things did you discover about yourself over the course of the last year, Natalie?
I find that I'm more, I pay attention to what others are saying to me. And I'm naturally more concerned with, let's say, for example, in my inbox on social media. Before, I never paid attention to if someone was messaging me, I would just automatically ignore it. And because you always have like weird, creepy individuals in your inbox, right? So now if someone messages me and they're reaching out to me, I'm giving that person the time because you just never know. It might be a simple question they're asking, hey, how did you write your book? Can you assist me? It's not something that I put out there to say, hey, this is what I'm doing now. I'm helping others publish their book, self publish. So that's something that's definitely new where I'm like, me? Like, I never thought for a second that I would be much of a support to others in that sense. I love walking. Before, I never liked walking outside, enjoying nature and all that stuff. Now I'll go for like a 45 or an hour walk around the golf course. And I'm just amazed by, oh my God, like, look at those trees, how big they are. So it's a simple things for me. It's not the over elaborate stuff at all. It's just a simple things. It could be going into Niagara Falls on a Sunday and there's fireworks. Everyone's always, you're a local. Why are you down there looking at the fireworks? Like, it's all year round. Like, you can see it at any time. But I'm like, no, these things, it excites me. It makes me feel like, I'm a kid again, and connecting with real people who genuinely just they wanna have a chat, they wanna, whether it's collaborate, those things I'm really interested in, and I feel like I'm going down a new avenue because the work that I do, a part of me feels like, "Natalie, this is what you studied for in school. This is what you're really passionate about." As per, "Hey, go to school, get a great job, get a government job, get great money." But my heart now, I feel like this is not the avenue that I'm gonna end it. I'm gonna go a totally different route. So I'm opening myself for all those new, changes, adventures, and I'm praying about it. And things are starting to slowly manifest. Things that I'm putting out there, it's slowly playing itself out where it's, whoa, it's a little bit of a shocker. But at the same time, I'm like, hey, God, if this is what you want from me, let's do it. Cause I question him a lot. I'm like, what do you want from me? When I do feel like I'm empty and my vessel, it's just, hey, I'm empty. I'm done. I've poured myself out. I'm praying about it. I'm in my space, my healing space where I'm like, okay, you've led me this far. What now? Can you help me? Because I have no direction. I have no clarity. And a lot of these books that I've written, this was not in I've never had this in my forecast like 5 years ago. I never thought for a second that I'm working on my third book right now and I have so much more in my mind. So the things that I'm praying about, he's okay, you've done this. Here's what I need you to do right now. It's not, none of it, it's planned. I'm just going by faith and I'm putting it out there and I'm trusting him that, hey, whatever I'm putting inside of you, it's your job to act on it. So I'm trusting him, whatever he's instilling inside of me, that it's going to impact those who really need it.
I love that you say that too. This is not, what you went to school for or whatever is what you're gonna end up doing at the end of your career, end of your life. And I love that you said that too, because a few years ago, or you tell me 2, 3 years ago, I was be doing a podcast. I wouldn't even been thinking I would be doing a podcast. It wasn't until the pandemic hit and the isolation was starting to hit and that human interaction, like, as someone that's been an addict and stuff like that, I love socializing. That was part of my addiction as well, was socializing and just getting together, getting fucked up, for the lack of better
Mhm.
words, with
Yep.
people. But now I had to find a different route to do it, and that's why I started, I'm gonna share other stories. I wanna share parts of my story, share other stories. Built this whole amazing another community around myself and with others, and collaborating with people like yourself and many other people, and it
Yes.
just
Yes.
fills that cup in a different way now. And
Mhm.
it's just amazing, and there's other things that are happening now behind the scenes that I would have never thought were happening. Yes, I'm in sales, but I don't see myself finishing off there either. But this is another year. 2022 for me is another year. Of the last year was a lot of growth too, like, even though what happened in the pandemic or 2020 and stuff like that. But it's
Yes.
another year of growth. But it's just been growth through this whole pandemic where lots of other people haven't seen that for themselves. But we just got to get uncomfortable doing the uncomfortable things. I've taught myself so many different things. It sounds like you've taught yourself to self-publish and become a writer. And that's 5 years ago, you would have never seen yourself doing that either.
Not at all. And that's the thing. I guess it's when you least expect, you hear that saying a lot. It's, oh, things happen when you least expect it. I don't have too much on myself to say, hey, here's what I'm going to do. Here's what I'm going to, I'm not planning when I'm doing these books. I just sit down and I'm like, if I see there's a benefit for others, if something has helped me, I'm going to put it out there. And I hear people say, why keep all your gifts to yourself? when there's someone out there who can benefit from it. It's just like my journal. I'm benefiting from it. For me, that's the most important thing. And hey, if someone wants to pick it up and use it in the same manner that I'm using it, there's only rewards at the end because what's inside of you, it's coming out. So you can't keep it all on the inside. You got to put it somewhere. Because if it's in here, the when it's coming out, if you've got it trapped in here, you're gonna lash out and you're gonna lash out at the wrong person, wrong time, and it's not gonna be good for you. So just let's just work on getting it out.
I love that you say, yeah, work on getting your feelings out in a more positive manner, not negative, lashing out on people. And that's another work in progress. And that's something that I want to work on this year too. I'm working towards doing more journaling, doing more writing. So I think that
Mhm,
even your book would be amazing for myself too to pick up. I think there's different things that I'm still needing to heal from that have happened, traumas in my past and
mhm.
stuff like that, even though I'm clean and sober, but there's still lots of healing for myself to do. It's an everyday process, one day at a time.
Exactly. And it's funny you said that you can see yourself picking it up. I'll just drop a beautiful gem right here. No one knows yet because I didn't put it out there. I'm actually creating one just for men. And I say that because, like, my husband as well, I created this. And if you really look at it, you're like, oh, it's pretty. It's pink on the front. And you associate it with, oh, maybe it's just for females. No, it's not. But
Yeah, I like
no, there's nothing wrong with it. My husband, he wears pink too.
it's
That's what he says. I'm like, it's pink. But throughout designing the book and coming up with the content and everything on the inside, I'm like, okay, I'm doing all this and this has benefited my females like myself, my girls, and the woman that I'm meeting. But I find that my last event that I had, a lot of the men, they were speaking up and it was moving because I'm like, I've never seen this. And especially a lot of black men that were in the room, they're not in, they're not really,
it's like that, and I'm not taking away from the black men or nothing either, but and I've spoke to other black men on my podcast
yeah,
too, and it was almost like taboo. It's like the to
yeah,
talk about mental health and you suck have to
yeah,
be that tough guy or the
yeah,
people that have been in gangs and stuff like that, those types of
exactly.
things too.
Yes.
But it's not all about that because they've seen shit
No.
that that you can't unsee, whether it's their friends being murdered and that
Yes.
stuff you
Yeah.
can't unsee. You know what I
Nope,
mean?
nope. And they were speaking up in the room. And I had the thought again, I thought this is it. I'm like, okay, this is it. So I'm like, you should create a book just for men to journal their thoughts to get it out. So all the guys are speaking up and I'm giving them the mic and I'm giving them an opportunity to ask questions, voice their opinion. And I opened it. Usually when you have question and answer period, you want to cut it short and make it really sweet. But it was like a full hour and we could have gone on for more until 2, 3 in the morning. But I'm like, okay, let's open it up. And it went on for an hour. And the men were so engaged. I'm creating a journal just for the men. So that's coming. If you want to
Nice.
wait on that one, I will be designing it as well, just for men with
I
a
like
little
it.
bit of twist. Yeah.
Yeah, but I don't mind picking up the one that you have there too. I'll pick
Yeah.
up that one too because I really wanna get into the journaling aspect of things, and I like that it's all in one book. I don't have to go buy another notebook. I can do it all right in there, and if I wanna buy
Exactly.
another one and spew some more garbage onto the pages and some
Mhm.
stuff that's going on, I can get another one, and I love that idea, Natalie. So thank you for not only thinking of you're thinking of everyone as a whole, and I love that, and I love that you're getting the black men in your community and beyond engaging, having these conversations too, because I think it's very important, especially
It
for the
is.
men to have these conversations. It's
Yes.
harder I find it harder to have these conversations with the men. It's coming around, like, with the year and the stuff we're doing now, and many more people are speaking up, and I love seeing that, and even these athletes, these professional black athletes too, I love them speaking up about what's happened in their lives. It's not like it doesn't happen to them. It happens to everyone. That's the thing that I, want to make aware to everyone. It doesn't just happen to white people. It happens to everyone, all
Everyone.
colors, all creed, everything.
Yes. Everyone.
So,
Yep.
yeah. So before we go, one last question. What is one thing you wish you'd spent more time doing when you were younger, Natalie?
That's a good question. And I'm gonna answer because there's so many things. But I'll give you one. I think I wish I would have spent more time being more aware of myself. I think at some point, like throughout my years growing, even as I want to say maybe from the age of 12, 13, I didn't really allow myself to just be one and accept me for me. I always pictured myself, I don't know, someone else, being comfortable in my skin, being comfortable with the little things about myself that most people are like, oh, yeah, you're this and you're that. But you're like, no, I wasn't always confident. And I struggled with that. I struggled with self esteem after coming here at a certain age. And then you're in a whole different culture. So that was a struggle for me. And it shifted my mind in that sense because I'm like, okay, why be me when I can be all these other things? And it wasn't that I really wanted to be someone else. I was just struggling with who I am as a person, growing, and the things that if someone tells you, oh, you're this, you start believing that, okay, I guess I'm that because you told me that. So my environment played a huge role for the most part until I'm like, okay, enough is enough. I'm done. I can't do this anymore.
I love that. You're just becoming more self-aware of your surroundings and the people you're surrounding yourself with. People, places, and things are huge for me too. If I don't
Yeah.
want to go down the same road I went down before, so I don't go around those people, places, or things anymore. And you got
Yep.
to change your environment and stuff like that. I love that you say that.
Yep. Absolutely.
So before we go though, where can everyone find you, Natalie? They know if they want to order your book, they want to follow you on Instagram, if they want to social medias and stuff. I know you're over on Instagram. What's your Instagram handle over there?
So my Instagram handle, it's 15 years, 14 chapters, and it's the word FIFTEENYRS, the number 14 chapters. Simple. If you can't remember that, just search nataliewatson.me and it's got my Instagram, it's got my YouTube, it's got my email, it's got my Facebook as well. So it's nataliewatson.me. Once you click on that, there's other links even for you to find both of my books as well.
So yeah, everyone, yeah, go head over to subscribe and turn on those notifications on Natalie's YouTube page and whatnot. Again, I really appreciate you taking the time out of your day to come on the show and share your story of experience, strength, and hope. And hopefully it will help someone else, maybe another grieving parent and stuff like that, to help what they're going through. And if you're really struggling and needing to get those things onto paper, Natalie has this amazing journal that she just spoke about on the show. So go pick that up or go pick up her first book. It's a memoir to her son. And thank you again for coming on the show today.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you for having me. It was awesome.
Thank you again. I hope
Yeah.
you have a great rest of your day.
Yes. You too. Thanks, Chris.